Hello, everyone. So nice to see you here. Okay, nice to see some people in the chat. Hello, guys. Okay, I'm just gonna wait just a moment to see if we have some more people joining us today. Okay, and while we're waiting, if you could leave me say a little hello in the chat. You can tell me where you're from, why you're coming to class today, hopefully to practice your writing. All right, just while we're waiting for the first couple of minutes, I'm going to give you a little challenge. Let me just share my screen with you and I will explain. Okay. Okay, so just for a couple of minutes, just in case we have some people joining us a little late, I'm going to give you this challenge. Okay, this is an anagram. And here we can see, okay, the words "a blue jay runs." So I'm going to give you a few minutes. Maybe you can think about this during the lesson. Maybe some technical problems there. Just give me a second. Here we go. That looks better. Okay, little puzzle for you guys just before we get started. Okay, can you solve this anagram? Now, this is an anagram that is related to the time of year that we are in. Okay, it's the beginning of the year. It's after New Year. It's after Christmas. So my challenge to you is by the end of the lesson, can you solve this anagram? Can you reorganize those letters to make a phrase or a word that is related to how we feel at the beginning of the year? Because I know sometimes at this time of year, I feel a bit, a bit down, a bit sad. A little clue for you. I'm just going to leave that there for 30 seconds. So you can have a look and have a think about it during the lesson. And if you have an idea, try and put it in the chat for me. I'd love to see it. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that now. Hopefully you have a note of it. If you can solve it, you will be my hero. You will win, I don't know, a virtual prize. Okay. So, welcome back today. This is our second live lesson in the series. And we are preparing everything really that you need to know for the B1 PET exam. Last week, we did an overview to give you a general idea of what to expect. And this week, we're back looking specifically at the writing part of the test. So you might need a pen, paper, somewhere to write. And I would recommend that for this lesson. And I love if you could say hello to me in the chat. That would be fantastic. Sometimes I feel very lonely here. Okay, so let's get started. So if I can't remember if I said already, my name is Fiona, and I'm your teacher for this next series of lessons. This is the second in our series of 10 lessons preparing for the PET exam. Today, we're going to start by looking at writing, the writing part of the exam, the first part. Okay, there are two parts to the writing test. Each part, there are two parts of two parts of the PET writing exam. The total time for this part is 45 minutes. So therefore, we have approximately 25 minutes for each part of this test. And the first part of the writing exam is typically answering an email. And we'll be looking at lots of examples of the types of questions and how to answer these most effectively, and how to get the best result you really can. So let me just share my screen again with you. Thank you for your patience. Here we go. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to share this with you. This is the criteria, the marking criteria that is used for the writing exam. This is what the examiners look at when they are marking your tests. All right, so I'm going to make this as big as possible. Hopefully you can read it. If you have problems, please write me a message in the chat and I will do my best to make it bigger or smaller or adjust the image if I can. So the writing is assessed according to these 4 categories that we can see here at the top. Okay, we have content, communicative achievement, organization, and language. So these are the 4 categories the examiners are judging you on. Now, we can see down the left-hand side, these are the points that are awarded for each category. So the maximum you can see is 5 points per category. So that's 5 points for content, 5 points for communicative achievement, 5 points for organization, and 5 points for language, giving us a total of 20 points. Okay, so if we do it perfectly, we should get 20 points in this. Now, I want to focus a little more just on these 2 categories, the categories that give us 3 points and the categories that give us the maximum 5 points, because really that's what we want. Okay, we don't want this bit down here. We don't want 1 point. We want to try and get 5 points or at least 3. 3 for each category is the minimum that you need to pass the exam. So let's keep that as the minimum and 5 as the objective. Okay, so we can see here we have the content. So as I said, this part of the test is typically an email. So for the examiners, they want to see that the content of the email is relevant, that you're answering the questions that were asked of you, and also that you consider who you are writing to. Okay, if you're writing to a friend or if you're writing to a teacher, that could affect the style of your writing a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind. If we look here at the communicative achievement, okay, this tells us that you are able to communicate your ideas and to maintain your attentions. You communicate what you want to communicate. Okay. In organization, okay, we're focusing a little more on the structure and the use of connectives. So you'll notice in order to gain the 5 points, we're looking for a variety of linking words and cohesive devices. Okay, in comparison to the 3 points, where we're just looking at basic linking words and a limited number of connectives. Okay, variety is really important to get you those extra points, to get you that top result. And finally, language. This is essentially our grammar and vocabulary. So obviously, we want to try and do as well as possible. At B1 level, we're expected to use everyday vocabulary and have a good understanding of simple grammatical forms. We can see uses a range of simple and some complex grammatical forms. So these might be things like conditionals, which if you can use them is fantastic. However, you'll notice here it says errors do not impede communication. So this means if you make a mistake, that's okay, on the condition that the examiner can still understand what you want to say and it doesn't affect the message of your writing. Right? So errors are okay, not too many, but 1 or 2 is fine, and you can absolutely still get those 5 points if you make a mistake. All right, so let's have a look. And we're going on. Here we go. Here is an example of writing part 1. Okay, this is an example of the question that you might see. I'm hoping you're able to see this. I'm going to try and make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Please let me know again in the chat if you need me to make it bigger or smaller. I will do my best. Okay, so here we can see we have an email received from our friend. What's the name of our friend? Here she is. Sandy. Okay, so that's very important. When you see the email, please make sure you know the name of the person you are writing to and try to incorporate that into your introduction. Okay, so let's take a moment to read through our email and then we'll look at how we're going to answer. We've got, hi, I'm so excited that you're coming to stay with me for a week. On your first evening here, there's a rock concert in our town. Would you like to go to the concert, or would you prefer us to relax at home? Also, shall we go climbing in the mountains while you're here? Let me know if you have any questions. See you soon, Sandy. Okay, so that's our email, and that's typically the type of message that you will see in the exam. A message from your English friend. All right, so the first thing that we can see, let me just get my pen so I can highlight it for you. Here we go. Okay, now please, I'm not using a mouse. I have a trackpad on my laptop, so I apologize in advance for very poor mouse control. So we have, this is our first point, the first thing that we want to answer. Okay, here we say, Sandy tells us that she's excited that we are coming to stay. So we want to say, me too, we want to agree with her. Okay, so let's put a little post-it that we can later write on, say, me too. And we can add to this or change it later on. Okay, so let's just put that here. Next point, we are asked to give a preference. All right, and this preference, we can see here we have 2 options. Would you like to go to the concert, or would you prefer us to relax at home? Okay, so it doesn't matter, whatever you prefer, as long as you can give a reason for that preference. Okay, so let's say concert. I think I would prefer to go to the concert. So I'm going to write concert, and we'll add to these in a moment. Here we go. Me too. We've got the concert. Let's make that I would prefer the concert. Okay, next up, we have our next point here. Shall we go climbing in the mountains while you're here? I don't really fancy climbing. No, thank you, not for me. Okay, we're asked here to say no. No, I don't want to go climbing because, and we'll think of a reason in just a moment. Okay, and then finally, our final prompt, we have to ask Sandy something. Okay, she says, let me know if you have any questions. So I wonder if anyone has any idea about some questions that we could ask Sandy. I would love to know. So if you have any ideas, just pop them in the chat. Hi, Luis. Hi, Fran. Don't know if you're still here. If you have any ideas for Sandy, let me know and we'll write them on a post-it. If not, I'll have to use my brain, I suppose. Okay, we could ask Sandy, let's see. We're going to stay with her for a week. So maybe we could ask her about the accommodation. So we could ask her, where will... Oh, yes, Louise, that's a good idea. That's better than mine. I'm going to put that in. What can I bring? Okay, great idea. I was going to say, where will I be staying? And what I bring is fantastic. Okay. So we've considered the 4 main prompts. We need to add some more information because at the moment we just have these 4 post-its. And with these, we're not going to pass the exam. So let's open a text box and we're going to try and write a more complete email. So when we're starting an email or a letter, almost always an email in the exam, there are some different ways that we can start, that we can make the introduction. Any ideas? Any ideas about introductions in the chat? We have one here. Hi. There are other options that we could put in. Yeah, super. Dear, in this case, it's Dear Sandy. I'm going to make this writing a bit smaller because it is enormous. There we go. Dear Sandy. We could say, hello, Sandy, or hi. Hi. Okay, use some good introductors. Dear Sandy, I would say, is the most universal. It could be a little more formal, but I think for this it's fine. Hello, Sandy, or hi, Sandy. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to say that we are also excited for coming to visit. So bring up another text box. We've got me too. Let's see if we can think of another way to say me too. So I'm so excited. Yeah, Louise, good morning or good evening would also work. The only problem with that in the writing is that we don't know what time the person is going to receive the message. But yeah, good morning and good evening, absolutely. You can use that, no problem. Okay. Now, I'm thinking of an expression, a very common expression in English that we use to show enthusiasm or to show that we really are, we're excited for something that is coming in the future. And I wonder if anyone can think of the phrase. I'll give you a little clue. Me too would be as well. Yeah, we can look at that as another option as well, Louise. Super. The one I'm thinking of is I'm really looking forward to seeing you. Okay. I'm really looking forward to seeing you too. But yeah, as Louise said, we could say, I'm looking forward to seeing you as well. To as well is a synonym of to, so that's perfect. I'm really looking forward to seeing you too. Okay, our next prompt that we're looking at is, would you like to go to the concert or would you prefer us to relax at home? Now, me personally, I would prefer to go to the concert, I think. But of course, you are free to write about whichever option. But let's see if we can make this phrase a little more interesting. I would prefer the concert. Grammatically, it's fine. A little boring. Okay, I think we need to give a reason. I would prefer to go to the concert because, why would we prefer to go to a concert? Because I think it will be very fun and my favorite band are playing on what day? So we'll make it Tuesday. Today. Okay, so you can see here, we're giving our preference, but then we're also giving a reason. Okay, and a little, I'd love to see them, gives a little excitement, and it makes the message a little more informal, which is good because Sandy is our friend. Okay, that's very small. I wonder if I can make it bigger. Okay, next up, the next prompt. We're going to say no to climbing in the mountains. I think it would depend on the weather, but in this case, the exam tells us we have to say no. So instead of saying no directly, perhaps we could say it in a more a gentle, softer way. Perhaps instead of no, we could say, I'm not sure about climbing in the mountains. Okay, because that's a little less flexible. Oops, I misspelled climbing. A little more flexible and a little politer as well for our friend. Instead of saying no climbing, we're saying I'm not sure. I'm not sure climbing in the mountains, we should say. And now we need to think of a reason. Okay, so I think, I'm not sure where you are, but here it is raining and horrible and cold. So the weather could be a factor in this case. So I'm going to say, I'm not sure about climbing in the mountains. The weather forecast is very bad for next week. I think it would be better to do another activity. Okay. So again, we're answering the prompt, which is the minimum requirement, but we're also giving a reason. We're giving an explanation of why we said no. It's a little bigger for you. I apologize if this is a bit small. If you have any problems reading it, just tell me and I will make it bigger if I can. Okay, and finally, let me know if you have any questions. So we've got already one question that we could ask Sandy. Okay, so we can definitely use that question. We could also connect it to the previous point, which was talking about the mountains. We could ask Sandy maybe what type of activities she likes doing. And maybe we can say something that we want to do during our visit. And let me think. I would like to visit the local museum. If possible. Also, what can I bring? That's a great way to finish. Okay, so here we've got our 4 main points. Yeah, what clothes does she need, or what clothes do you need? You might want to add that. What can I bring? Are there any clothes any special clothes that I will need? There we go. That's a good idea. Thanks, Louise. Because if we're going to the concert, maybe you'll want a T-shirt with the logo of the band or the artist. You might need to bring something very cold, some clothes for cold weather, depending on where she is. That's a very good question to ask. Good job. Okay, and finally, now that we've met our 4 points, we've got our 4 prompts here. We more or less have our email written, and we just need to finish. And we have one example here that Sandy's used to conclude the email. She says, "See you soon," which we can use, but let's see if we can maybe think of an alternative just to not repeat the same thing as Sandy. Okay, any ideas about some phrases we could use to finish an email? There's lots of different ones. Some of them are formal, some of them are less formal. Any ideas in the chat? I'm going to put some of my ideas then. Let's see. We could say, so see you soon, we know is an option. We have it here. But to not repeat the same one, we could say, what can we say? We could say love, because she's someone, I think she's someone from our family, or at least a friend. So love, we can say, quite informal. We could say from. If we're writing to someone that we don't know, we want to make the email a little more formal, we could say regards or best regards. Okay, and then we could put our name. Best regards, Fiona. Love, Fiona. Okay, and if in doubt, you do have the example. You can still see you soon if you want to. That's totally fine. So there we go. There is our first example. Oh, I'm just seeing the chat now. We've got hug. Yeah. We could absolutely say that. We could say, let me just adapt this a little. We could say big hugs. Big hugs, Fiona. Okay, one important point to mention is that, remember, in English, we don't usually say kisses for, to finish an email, even if it's a friend or it's very informal. Big hugs, yep, we can use that. Big hugs is good, but kisses is, no, that's where we draw the line. Okay, so love, big hugs, some options for you to choose from there. Okay, so I hope that first example has been useful for you. Okay, and you can see that we've used quite a good selection of vocabulary. Okay, our grammar is good. And we've expanded on our answers. Okay, so we said, me too. We also gave an explanation. Okay, we gave more than just a brief answer, which is important for the exam. And that's what will help you get those 5 points. So the 3 points is a pass, 5 points is a good pass. And expanding and giving a more complete response will help you get that. Okay, so now I'm gonna just zoom out a little. Let's have a look. I'm going to show you an example of someone, a real student or 2 real students, who answered this exam question. And we're going to look at their writing and look at some of the positives and some of the negatives and talk about where they could improve in their answers. So let me just show you. Here we go. Okay, now this is an answer to the same question that we just saw. Okay, so they're answering about the concert. So I'll give you just a moment to read this. Hi, my dearest friend. I am excited about that as you. I don't want to read it out loud. You can read it. Okay, so if you have any questions or any doubts about the vocabulary, please just write it in the chat and I can answer you, or I will answer you there. So hopefully you had a moment to read this more or less. So now I can tell you that this example of the writing is not the best example. In the exam, this might pass, but really this is the minimum expectation for you to pass this exam. So let's have a look at, if we go back for just a moment and we remind ourselves of what the examiners are looking for. Okay, just zoom, here we go. Okay, I'm going to go down to this category here. Okay, so first off, for content, this is the content section. Okay, I don't know if you can read that. So for content, to get 3 points, the information must be more or less relevant, but for 3 points, there could be some parts that are missing or that are omitted. But in general, the message is conveyed. So let's see. Does Alex include the 4 points that the task asked for. Okay, so remember, they were asking for you to, okay, you to agree with them and say that you're excited. And we can see here that they do that. So I'm going to put a tick. Whee. So they do answer the first prompt. Louise, I'll give you the grades in a moment. Let's talk about this, and then we're going to try and predict what grades we think this got. Okay. So this is our first prompt. The second prompt, communicative achievement. We just go back to remind ourselves what that is. Here we go. Okay, so this is that the language is appropriate and that the ideas are clear and that it's appropriately formal for the person you're writing to. So let's have a look. Now, they do use these openings. Hi, my dearest friend. It's quite formal, but it's perfectly fine. They do use our closings. I'm looking forward for next week. There's a little error here, but it's okay. We understand. Okay, the message, I would say, is generally clear. There are some mistakes, but I can understand what they're saying. The only thing I would mention is that in some of the negative phrases, like here, it says, if concert will annoy me, I will go. Okay, I understand the message. However, I think this could be phrased in a better way. The way that it's phrased like this, it sounds a little rude. So it's not ideal. Okay, but apart from that, I would say communicative achievement, it does communicate the message that we're looking for. Next, we're coming to the organization. Now, the organization category for the examiners is the structure. Okay, we're looking for those connectives, the variety of connectives used. So let's have a little look. I can see we have buts. We have if, so. So we do have some connectives. However, if we go back and look at those criteria, okay, here we can see the text is connected and coherent. It is. Basic linking words. Yeah, cohesive devices. So that's like referring to the pronouns or referring to something that's happened previously. They don't really do. So although we do use basic linking words, we don't use much beyond that. So I think in that category, really, we're scoring quite low. Maybe a 2. And then the final category is the language and vocabulary. All right, so I can understand the message, and that is the most important thing. However, I think some of the choices of words do affect the meaning a little bit. So I would be hesitant to give this person more than a 3 in that category. So I wonder if you would like to make some predictions for me. Now, I have the results here, so I can tell you the correct ones. But if this is the categories that we're looking at, what do you think that person would have got in the content, in the communicative achievement, in organization, and in language? Or what do you think they would have got overall, perhaps? So remember, the maximum is 20. To pass, they would need 12. I'm curious what your opinions are. going to give you a second to think about it before I give you the answer. 8 points. Ooh, I think you're very mean, Louise. Yeah, this is not the best example. This person actually scored, let me see, 2, 4. Actually scored 11 was their total. Okay, so they scored, the content of the email was correct. That it was everything that was necessary. So the content, they scored 4. Then in the communicative achievement category, they scored 3. Okay, because that was the introductions and the conclusions and the manner. The organization, they only scored a 2. And in the language, they only scored a 2. And I think, personally, if I was marking this, I would give them maybe an extra point in the language because they have used words like pickaxes and ropes, which are very specific. And so although there are some errors, I would maybe have given them a 12 if I was feeling generous on that day, but we couldn't guarantee it. So I'm going to show you a very good example now, just so that we can compare. So this is the same task, the same question. I'd like to give you a moment to read this. Now, this example, I can tell you, scored full marks. Okay, this has 20 out of 20. So this is goals. All right. So take a moment to read this so that you can really notice the difference. Louise, you only need to know the start and the ending. Well, we need content as well, unfortunately. But if you have a good starting and an ending, and one of the other categories is very good, then the other ones, yeah, you can survive without them. Okay, so I hope you can see the difference between the previous example and this example. This example is for B1, excellent. Okay, it's clear. We have a nice clear introduction. We've got, oh look, a different word, different phrase to conclude. Answer me soon. And we have all of the prompts are answered. I can't wait. We're talking about the rock concerts that they would prefer. She gives a reason, or he gives a reason why she wants to go to the mountain, doesn't want to go to the mountains, gives more information, and she asks some questions here. Speaking about family, asking about her family, which is very appropriate for this because from the context, I think Sandy is a good friend or perhaps a family member. So that's really good for this kind of task. All right, so I hope that was useful, that comparison. If you have any questions or anything else that you'd like to ask, just add them in the chat and we can talk about them just now. I'm going to go back and see, has anyone been able to solve it? We started the class with this anagram. Okay, this is an anagram that is related to how we feel this month of the year. How I feel this month of the year, and probably other people too. We feel a bit sad, we feel a bit down, Christmas is finished, New Year's finished, it's cold, it's rainy, it's maybe snowy, weather's bad, everyone's poor because we spent all our money on Christmas presents. Any ideas what this anagram is? Robin? Come on, guys, you can do it. Okay, I think I'm going to tell you. No one's got it in the chat. Okay, I'm going to write it up here so that everyone can see. Okay, now this is an expression we use to say that we feel down at the beginning of the year, and it's called the January blues. Okay, the January blues. If you say, I've got the January blues, it's because it's January. The Christmas season is finished. I'm poor. It's cold weather. I'm back to work. Everyone's a bit sad. So hopefully by next week, we will get over the January blues and we'll be back and ready for the next class. So that was a tricky one. So don't worry if you didn't get that. There we go. A new phrase for you. So we're going to finish there for today. Thank you so much for coming to this class. I hope it was useful for you. And I'm looking forward to the next session. This time next Tuesday, we'll be looking at the second part of the writing exam. All right. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the Home Studies channel. You'll get a notification when we have our next live session coming up. And it's been a pleasure. I hope to see you guys next week. Goodbye, guys. Good. Yeah, that was a good one. Thank you. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Luis, for your participation. And hopefully see you next week. Okay. Stop sharing. And thank you, guys. Thank you for the comments. See you next week.